Hi, my name's Michael.
And I'm Susan.
Welcome to Beyond the Destination.
From the mountains to the city lights, it's beyond the destination. Let's go. Another story on the open road.
In today's episode, we are going to talk about questions that people have sent in. Since starting this podcast, we've been inundated with a lot of questions. So we kind of wanted to have a little session where we answer these because people are asking a lot about vacations with disability and how we plan and things like that. So we thought this might be a good place to stop because we're trying to answer the questions individually, but probably be a good thing. I'm sure a lot of other people have those same questions. So the first question that we have from our viewers is, what is the hardest part about traveling with a disability? For me, I guess the hardest part would be planning. Because of my disability, I do have to plan more than someone else. For example, if someone wanted to plan a plane trip to San Francisco, it's easy. You just plan and go. But with me, I know I have to pre-board the airplane, and I look for an airline with comfortable seats or something that I can afford, as well as have something up close to the front. And there's different airlines that have different policies, so that's part of planning that goes into it. So that's probably the hardest part, is really the planning.
Okay. And some of the another question was, how do you plan for your trips? What are some of the first things you look for in a destination?
When we plan trips, obviously, it's about the destination, on where we go, what we do. For example, with walking with a crutch and having cerebral palsy, it's not easy for me to go hiking, for example, so I can't go to the Grand Tetons and, hike the trails or, go places like that. So I have to look for accessible destinations, but also something that when we do plan trips that is good for Susan, where it's a fun destination for her, because we are a married couple. I don't want it all just to be about me. It has to be about both of us. And
well, what we do is we look at, just to make sure that it's accessible. That's basically our number one thing.
Exactly.
We look for sidewalks, hiking trails that are cemented. Lots of times, we go to festivals or something. We always want to make sure first that it's not on grass. If it is on grass, it takes a lot more of your battery, right? Is that what it does?
Yes, yeah, it does take a lot more of the scooter battery.
Right. So, we just kind of look for the accessibility of the destination we want to go to first. If it's not going to be, feasible for us to go, then we just kind of go, okay, where else can we go then around that area? And there's a time we'll, pick something else. But, we've been to the Grand Canyon. Beautiful. Has, accessibility. And there's not some that aren't so accessible, but you just, have to plan way ahead of time to make sure that it is accessible. That's basically the first thing we do. And then
a little side note to that, not really have anything to do with the question, but something I thought about was with my scooter. You were talking about going on grass and then draining the battery faster. I do have a Pride Go-Go scooter. It's a transportable scooter. And several years ago, I did decide to upgrade it to lithium batteries. And I did that because we were going into Disney and places, and I was getting decent range. But if you guys are interested in seeing how I did that, let me know. I'd be happy to, do a video on upgrading the way I did it for my scooter and show you what I did and how to do it. It's really not that difficult.
I know you did really good on that, and you go really far on that.
Yeah, and the batteries are not, they've come down in price so much that you can really do it affordably if you know what to look for. And, if you're not able to do it, I'm sure somebody, a friend or a family member, can do it. I literally did mine in about 15 or 20 minutes. So, leave a comment down below and let me know if you'd like to see a video on that, and I'll be happy to show you.
It's way lighter, too.
Oh, yeah,
it's
the battery
how
pack.
Light it is. Yes.
Yeah, the battery pack itself, it was really hard to lift it up and put it in. Susan really struggled with it, but with the new one, it's light as a feather because lithium batteries are so much lighter. The only caveat to that is transporting on the airlines. You need to let them know that it's lithium because sometimes if it's a removable battery, they may want to put it up in the cabin with you rather than putting it underneath the plane. But that's really a minor thing. I've only had that happen to me one time. All the other times they've just left it on the scooter and put it underneath, just made a note of it.
Cool.
So what's the next question? Have you ever had travel experience go completely wrong because of your accessibility issues, and how did you handle it? I think the only time that I can remember was when we traveled in the Florida area when we were thinking about moving down here.
Same piece. You're on the same wavelength. Okay.
I had made a reservation with a hotel. Again, I was the planner. I planned ahead and I made a reservation with a hotel, but I did not realize that the hotel, I had put on it that I needed an accessible room, but when we got there kind of late in the day. They gave away the accessible room, and the only room they had was upstairs. I think it was on the 3rd floor, and there were no elevators. It was just staircases. So we thought about it, and yeah, I can climb stairs walking with my crutches, but then we had the luggage, and I didn't want to put any extra burden on Susan. So
And we were kind of a little upset with it too that they gave that room away when we already had booked it, and we were just kind of upset with the hotel to begin with. So we're like, oh, we'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, because they really did not even, feel bad about it. It's like, oh, sorry, we gave the room away, and that kind of was not right. But
no, it wasn't.
It is what it is. So they did allow us to cancel the reservation, and we did go somewhere else. But that was kind of a failure on my part. I should have researched it a little bit more. Usually, if you do something with Expedia or even the hotel websites, they will tell you if they have elevators and things like that to keep an eye out on. So when I do plan, I have to plan a little bit more.
And that actually goes back to the number 2 question is, what do you look for in a destination? Accessibility to make sure.
Accessibility,
Do you have an
exactly.
elevator? Do you have, and another thing about it is I've noticed in some hotels when we go and we ask for the accessible room, we'll go up the elevator, but then the room is way down at the end of the hallway, and it's like, why would they put it way down here? It doesn't. Some hotels it just doesn't make sense for that. But
I personally think that a lot of hotels, when you find that, the hotels are not doing it because they care about the accessible community at all. What they're doing is trying to meet the standards that they need to meet in order to get all the certifications they're supposed to. So I've seen where they'll have, like, for example, a hotel or somewhere, and they'll put the handicapped parking spaces on the other side of the parking lot, which that makes no sense. Or they'll put them down instead of near the entrance of the hotel, they'll put them down at the other end of the parking lot. Yeah. Or they'll put handicapped parking spots in, but then there's no ramp to get up on the sidewalk. I've seen that. We just experienced that not too long ago. I literally had to go in the freezing temperatures. Our room was near the back of the hotel, and the hotel was under construction and everything. I literally had to get on my scooter, and it was like 15 degrees out, and I had to take my scooter outside all the way around the building to get onto the sidewalk to take my scooter in to be able to charge it. So again, it's really an afterthought with a lot of these places, so try to plan accordingly whenever you're traveling.
Absolutely. So let's see, number 4 here. What are the main preparations, items, and tools you do and need before traveling? So make sure we have your scooter, an extra crutch, just in case you've had some history with that.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
Because I use wooden crutches because metal ones creak, and the wooden crutches, after you use them continuously for a couple years, they start getting brittle. It's just like anything else. It dries out. So, you lose your balance a little bit, and you go to put your crutch down to catch yourself, and it snaps like a toothpick. So quick and easy.
Grease.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've done that too. So I walked into a McDonald's bathroom one time. Well, I guess somebody spilled some grease or something in there, and boy, my crutch hit it. And Susan was outside. I guess you were in the car.
I was waiting in the car. I was in Was it down in Savannah somewhere?
Yeah, Savannah, Georgia. I remember
Yes.
it was. It wasn't in the best of areas, and went into the McDonald's. I had to go to the bathroom, and when I went in there, I caught myself. Luckily, I didn't fall in it. It was pretty nasty. The floor was, but when I went to catch myself, my crutch snapped in half. So luckily, the car wasn't parked too far from the entrance. But when I came out of the
He had
bathroom,
half a crutch. He came to the car and he had half
and
a crutch.
it was.
What happened?
She said, "What happened to you?" And I have it's all in splinters, and I'm carrying it, and I didn't have another crutch with me.
So we were on a mission
So-
that day to find so we actually found because wooden crutches aren't really sold and it's all the metal and he does not like metal crutches.
The metal
He does not like
crutches.
metal
I don't know if you all have experienced this. Please leave a comment below if you have. But the metal crutches for me, after I use them for probably a month or two, start clanking every time I walk, and it's just the most annoying feeling. Plus, they don't feel very sturdy after you use them for 6 months. They're not designed to be used full time, and when you use them, you can feel them start to bow, and they'll bend as easy as a straw. So you have to be careful. So I like the wooden ones because they get a lot more use out of them.
Yeah, we happened to find a thrift store, I believe it was.
Yes.
And I asked the lady, I said, "Do you have any wooden crutches?" She goes, "I think we have some in the back." Like they had like a big area, like almost looked like a barn or whatever they had storage. She goes, "We might have some back there." They had like 3. I said, "I'll take them." I'll take all 3. She goes, "All 3?" I said, "Yes, I'll just take them." And we've had them ever since.
Yeah. Every time
We
I've
buy
gone
extra
to
bottoms for them and
every time I go to a thrift store
you see 'em.
and I see them, I grab them because they don't make wooden ones as much anymore. They're getting more rare.
Right.
So, but anyway, so
so that's one of the tools, and then your scooter. What else do we take? I mean, what else do we use? Items, tools do we use to?
I just make sure I take a few tools with me in case my
Yeah.
scooter there's an issue with it. Just a little tiny thing of tools. I think that's pretty much
That's about it. I
that's
mean,
all
for
I
the
do.
most part, we
Of course, with you having different disabilities, your preparation might be a little bit different if you're
Right.
blind or you're deaf.
Right.
Again, it'll be a different need than ours, but it's kind of under the same umbrella trying to figure out what you need to do. Another question that someone had is, how do you handle where some places say they are accessible, but when you get there are really not?
like the one with the
Yeah.
gave
Yeah.
a room away and didn't have an elevator. I'm like,
Well, they're accessible. They just didn't have the room. But I think the biggest takeaway from that I have is there's a lot of places that say they're accessible. But for example, you'll go in and their accessibility setup leaves a lot to be desired. Perfect example, going into a hotel room and they'll have one grab bar in the bathroom that's next to the toilet. Okay, well then the bathtub is a super high bathtub and there's no grab handles for the bathtub. Obviously, they just put the grab bar in there as an afterthought, thinking, okay, well, this is what we need to put in here to call it an accessible room.
and the bottom is like really slippery. They don't have any kind of mat or anything.
Yeah, or if they do put grab bars in the bathtub, they're not thinking about what a person needs to be able to literally step in and step out of the bathtub. For example, they might put one grab bar over on the corner of the inside of the bathtub, but that doesn't give you what you need to be able to grab to step in or step out. So, I wish that hotels would really take into account, and places like hotels, like Airbnbs, when they do set up and say they're accessible, I wish they would really maybe reach out to the disabled community to
Right.
figure out what they needed.
The Airbnbs, that's a good one because we've had situations where Airbnb or a VRBO, whatever, the houses that we've rented, say they're accessible, though it's easy, flat in and out. And most of the time in Florida, you will have flat in and out. We really don't have too many stairs around Florida in homes, unless it's a townhouse or something. But the beds are very low. I've noticed that when we've gone, and it's very difficult for you to get in and out of it. It's difficult for me to get in and out of a very low bed. It's like, I don't understand that, but I think
that makes a good point, because before we moved into our house, we were RVing across the country, and after we were done RVing across country, right before we moved in the house, we stayed in a couple Airbnbs because we were transitioning everything over. And I was always very careful of reserving the Airbnb because they would say they wheelchair accessible, things like that.
And they were.
Well, this one that we went into, it was wheelchair accessible, but the bed, I guess they were trying to save money on a regular bed frame. So what they did is they used one of those platform bed frames. Instead of putting a box spring, they just had slats and put the mattress. The bed itself was literally no more than 12 inches off the floor.
Yes.
And to get in and out of this bed, it honestly was like the bed was laying on the floor. So if you can imagine, you don't have good balance to begin with. When you roll out of bed and you sit up and you go to stand, it's nice to have a regular bed height, but this bed was absolutely horrible. And then the recliner that they had in the living room, when you sat back, it sank way back. So it was hard to get out of. So again, if some places...
I guess you can ask that. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can ask the person who, you're renting the Airbnb from,
but again,
how high is the bed? How, especially if there is someone who, who needs, help getting it out. How high is the bed? How,
Usually you can tell from the pictures.
Yeah.
But this one we couldn't tell, and that was totally on me. But it was a struggle because we were there almost a week, and every day I would just avoid going into the bedroom unless we were going to bed. It was really difficult.
So.
The next question is...
Okay, this one. Do you or Susan ever get anxious or stressed traveling with your disability? I don't think we've ever gotten stressed or anxious.
No, again, because I'm a very thorough planner with my disability.
Right.
Again, I've learned that if I plan ahead, I can make sure that everything's going to go as well as possibly can. I think the only time we really get anxious might be when we're waiting on an airplane and the crowds start coming in and people, especially in the airports, they don't like it when, there's someone with a disability pre-boarding. They don't like it when you're standing in line ahead of them. Everybody's in a hurry to get somewhere.
I don't understand why, because you're all going on the same plane. I don't understand.
But it's the way that they envision disabled people. It's slowing them down. Mm-hmm. It's a very hurry-up society, which it's a shame because I think people really need to slow down and understand, everybody, whether you're able-bodied or not, you're going to take time. Everybody's going to get there, but I think they do look at that as a detriment to their day, trying to figure out how to get through things. And if they see somebody that needs a little extra time or something, it just really gets them upset. So the next thing is, what is the one thing that you would like the travel industry to understand regarding accessibility?
Probably a lot of things we talked about. But
a lot of things we talked about. I think the biggest takeaway on that question is I wish the travel industry as a whole would have some kind of a standard organization to where when a hotel wants to be accessible or an airline considers themselves accessible, that there's an organization that will help them determine the needs of the accessible individuals, whether, again, it's being deaf, blind, handicapped in other ways. It just really would help as a whole if there was some type of organization that really stepped up and helped to make these organizations, these companies accountable in these different industries.
There might be something. I don't know. Is it ADA or I don't know. I don't want to mention
ADA
anything.
compliant.
I don't know if they actually come in and inspect any of these buildings. So
it's just like the handicap permits we were talking about last week. They're there for a purpose, but nobody enforces it. I have not. I think the last time I've seen the police actually enforce a handicap plaque or a handicap license plate was probably at Christmas time.
They do,
And I know, like at the theme parks, they're pretty strict about letting you in those areas. But other than that, if it's not a holiday, you can park in a handicapped spot and no one pays any attention. It's a real shame because there are people out there that needs it.
It is a shame.
So how do people treat you when you are traveling? I guess that goes back to what I was talking about. Normally, if we're just traveling in the RV or going on vacation to a hotel, it's not that big of a deal. But when you are in a place like an airport or going on a cruise and it's very crowded, that's when I notice it, how people treat you a little bit different. They're trying to get around you, and they're not just, they don't want to wait their turn. They think that you're going to hold up everything.
Well, we just experienced something on our cruise. We went to the covered cabana, the overwater cabana, and we were going back to the ship. So we had to get to the shuttle, I guess it was. And they pull right, you walk to the end of the, I guess, path, and the shuttle, the lady said, there's always people there to help you. And they said the shuttle will pick you up right here on the side. So we said, okay. So we right there, picked us up. We got on, got his scooter on and everything. And I heard this gentleman and his family coming around the turn. They're like, oh, yeah. And they thought they were going to get this shuttle when it was a handicap. It was for, shuttle for disability shuttle for someone like that and their family. He came around and he goes, oh, that's messed up. But he used a stronger word. Right where in front of us, right there. And I just got so angry at this man. I thought that was so ignorant. In front of his kids, in front of his family, that's really messed up. And he used a worse word. And I just kind of looked at him and I said, people that aren't caring can go that way, just down there and get shot. And he knew I heard him. And he was like, oh, he must have been, drinking a little bit. But still, it's people that just don't understand that, that shuttle was for our family and Mike. It was not for our family. It was not for him and his family. And the other shuttle was coming. He could walk, he was, and these people are just think they're entitled. And it just kind of got to me. I just was very upset about that. But
yeah, to me, it's everyday life. So
I know, but I got a little
kind of
upset.
Just shrugged it off my shoulder and everything.
I had it.
It really bothered Susan.
It did, because he said it right to us. He wasn't quiet about it, and he was loud and kind of obnoxious. And I had to say something. I was like, people that don't care and don't give a crap go down that way. His whole family was kind of like, okay, she heard that. So, but somebody wrote in, I am afraid to travel because of my disability. What advice or encouragement can you give me to ease my concern?
If you feel, and this goes back to our podcast last week, or episode, if you feel that you can travel and you have the means to do it, don't let somebody discourage you from it. It's your life. You really should step up and do it. You can do it if you plan it out. If you have the means to do it and the capability to do it, don't let a family member or relative say you can't do it. Just make plans and do it. Say, I'm going to do it. This is my life. I'm allowed to, and I want to do this. If you don't, you're always going to regret and think that you're going to not have a quality life. But if you go deep in your heart and say, I know I can do this. I have the means to do it. Just reach out.
Do a lot of research, yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, reach out and make a comment. I'm happy to help you figure out things to do and places to go and how to do it, because I've done so much research over the years. I can definitely help you with that.
Right.
The last question is, where is your favorite destination so far and how accessible was it? I've actually had a couple.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite destinations was Disney World. And the reason with Disney World, we lived down there for a while.
Definitely.
We're originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I had always wanted to take Susan down. So we had gone down. We really came to love Disney World and going in. So we actually moved about 15 minutes from Disney World, and for a couple years we had annual passes and went in. And the reason I liked it so much was because Disney at the time has always been very much about accessibility. They've had to put a lot of constraints on it over the past couple of years because a lot of people have abused it, which are really sad. And we haven't been back here in probably a couple of years because we kind of moved
after the C hit, the terrible,
the terrible
pandemic
C word
hit.
Yeah, we kind of
like I
moved
said,
out of the area and moved to more northern part of Florida.
That's
So
our
we
trip.
really haven't been back, but we really enjoyed the times that we went, and the accessibility was beyond anything.
Right.
The other destination that I really truly love is Las Vegas, and it's not necessarily for the gambling, but there's something to do for every level of accessibility that there is. You don't have to gamble if you're not a gambler. There are shows,
Oh yeah.
there's food, there's nightlife, and again, that city is built accessible. Everything that they do, all these
Right.
mega resorts out there, even if you go downtown to Fremont Street, that area, all those hotels have been made to be totally accessible, and it's just a wonderful place to go. You just have to plan out and what you want to do, and you can take trips from there out to the Grand Canyon. You can go to Red Rock
Hoover
Canyon,
Dam.
Hoover Dam, and again, all these areas are
Mead.
totally accessible.
Right.
So, you know,
Find
it's
a
just
dog.
yeah.
That's where we found our Charlie.
Yep,
that's
where
why
we found Charlie.
the little shorts, we call him Charlie Vegas. My one son named him that because that's where we got him. We got him in Vegas on our cross country trip back home.
So with all that said, don't want to let anything, hold you back. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm more than happy. I've been trying to answer all the questions that you have, and if you know of destinations that you would like to see us go to, please put it again in the comments, and we will see what we can do about putting that on our next
travels. Well, our next
trip.
Or on this next podcast, we're going to be talking about our trip coming up.
Yep. We're going to
next
be
month. So.
Yep. Well, it's next month. It's in about a week and a half.
Yeah, next month.
Yep. And we're going to be leaving, and we talked about a little bit before going down to the Florida Keys and take you guys along. So look forward to it. If you guys have any questions, leave them below. Please give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you later.
See ya.
From the mountains to the city lights, it's beyond